You know, when I first got Max, I thought we'd just be doing the usual dog stuff, fetch in the park, long walks, maybe a few trips to the beach. But then I started noticing how he moved, how he navigated the world around him. He was like a little furry acrobat, bounding over curbs, weaving through legs, and leaping up onto benches with this effortless grace that made me think, why not teach him some urban parkour tricks? I mean, if you're going to live in the city, you might as well embrace it, right? So there I was, standing in the middle of the park, my heart racing with excitement and a hint of anxiety. I had my phone ready to capture every moment, thinking about how cool it would be to post videos of Max doing flips and tricks. I could already see the likes rolling in. But first, we had to start small. I figured we'd begin with something simple, like jumping over a low bench. I called him over, and he came bounding toward me, tail wagging like a little helicopter. I showed him the bench, pointing and encouraging him to jump. He looked at me, then at the bench, and then back at me, as if to say, "You want me to do what?" But I was persistent. I crouched down, gesturing enthusiastically, and finally, with a little nudge from my hand, he took a leap. It wasn't perfect, but he cleared it, landing with a little stumble that made me laugh. He looked back at me, proud of himself, and I couldn't help but cheer. Good boy, Max. That was amazing. I felt like a proud parent watching their child take their first steps. We repeated the jump a few more times, and each time he got a little more confident. I could see him figuring it out, the way his body adjusted midair, the way he landed more gracefully each time. It was exhilarating, and I was hooked. Next, I thought we'd tackle something a bit more challenging, a set of stairs. There was a small flight of steps leading up to a little platform in the park, and I figured if he could jump over the bench, he could handle this. I led him to the steps, and he looked up at them, his ears perked. I could see the gears turning in his head. I encouraged him to go up, and he hesitated for a moment, but then he took the first step, and I was over the moon. He climbed each step with a mix of caution and curiosity, and when he reached the top, he turned around to look at me, his tongue lolling out in that goofy way that made my heart melt. I was ecstatic. "You did it, buddy. Now let's see you jump down." I positioned myself below, ready to catch him if he miscalculated. He looked down at me, and for a moment I could see the doubt creeping in. But then, with a little encouragement, he took a leap. It was a bit clumsy, but he landed safely, and we both celebrated like we just won a championship. As the days went by, we started to incorporate more obstacles, curbs, benches, even a few low walls. I could see Max thriving in this new game. He was learning to gauge distances, to push himself, to trust his instincts. I was amazed at how quickly he picked things up. It was like he was born for this. One afternoon, we ventured into a busier part of the city. I was nervous. There were more people, more distractions. But I thought, why not? If we're going to do this, let's do it right. I found a wide sidewalk with a series of low planters lining the edge. I thought it would be a perfect opportunity for Max to practice his balance. I led him to the first planter, and he looked at it skeptically. I could see the wheels turning in his head again. I encouraged him, and after a moment of hesitation, he hopped up. I couldn't believe it. He walked along the edge like a tightrope walker, tail wagging with pride. I was shouting, "Yes, yes, you're doing it!" But then, just as he reached the end, a pigeon flew by, and his attention snapped away. He lost his balance and tumbled off the side, landing in a little patch of grass. I rushed over, half laughing, half worried, but he popped up, shaking off the grass like it was nothing. He looked at me, and I could see the spark in his eyes. "Let's do it again." We spent the afternoon navigating the urban jungle, and I realized something profound. It wasn't just about teaching him tricks. It was about building trust, about learning to communicate in a world that was sometimes overwhelming. Each jump, each leap, each stumble was a lesson for both of us. As we continued our training, I started to notice how Max began to adapt to the city. He learned to dodge bicycles, to weave through crowds, to navigate the chaos with a newfound confidence. I was so proud of him. He was no longer just my dog. He was my partner in this urban adventure. There was a moment, one sunny afternoon, when we were practicing at a local park. I had set up a little course with benches and planters, and as he flew through the obstacles, I felt a rush of joy. It was more than just tricks. It was a celebration of our bond. I realized that in teaching him to navigate the city, he was also teaching me to embrace the chaos of life. Max had transformed from a simple companion into a little urban ninja, and I couldn't help but wonder what other adventures awaited us. The city was our playground, and together we were unstoppable.